When you've spent decades together, you've earned the right to demand a symbol of your commitment, something tangible that speaks louder than words, a ring that tells the world of your bond, your history, and your unity. But in the rarefied air of royalty, such symbols come with weighty consequences. Queen Camilla, dazzling the world with a breathtaking diamond, has not only kept her place in the royal spotlight, but also set the stage for a drama of incredible proportions. Was this ring a symbol of love and unity, or was it simply the final piece in a much larger game, one that could soon bring everything crashing down? The whispers have grown louder and now, in a shocking turn no one could have predicted, King Charles is reportedly furious beyond measure. Sources within the royal household claim that Charles has gone so far as to throw Camilla out of the palace, even demanding that she return her engagement ring. What once seemed like an unbreakable bond may, in fact, have finally reached its breaking point. Insiders close to the royal family have suggested that the tensions between the king and queen have been bubbling under the surface for months, like a time bomb waiting for the right moment to explode. And when it did, it left even the palace staff in a state of disbelief. Was this fiery confrontation just an isolated incident, or had something darker, more insidious, been festering beneath the surface of their marriage for far too long? Step into the heart of this royal crisis with us as we peel back the layers of this extraordinary debacle. This isn't just a story of one explosive argument. No, this is the unraveling of a marriage, a monarchy, and a queen consort who may soon find herself facing her most formidable battle yet. The quiet tensions before the storm. 4 weeks leading up to this explosive event, there was an undeniable tension in the air of the palace. It was a kind of tension that couldn't be ignored, not by anyone who worked there, not by anyone with even the faintest awareness of how the monarchy functioned. King Charles, the monarch known for his strict adherence to tradition and control, had always walked a delicate tightrope. Managing royal scandals, keeping up appearances, and upholding the very image of the monarchy itself had been his life's work, a carefully calculated dance to ensure that the royal family remained untouchable. But suddenly, things weren't going according to plan. At the center of it all, Queen Camilla. Once seen by the public as little more than the other woman, she had quietly, but steadily, stepped into the limelight in ways no one had expected. She was giving speeches, making solo appearances, even speaking directly to the press without the usual royal restraint. It was clear that Camilla no longer saw herself as the woman in the background, silently supporting her husband from the sidelines. No, she was stepping into the role of the queen consort in a way that was impossible to ignore. For some, this might have seemed like a harmless shift in the public dynamic. But to the royal household, this was a major breach of protocol. The monarchy, after all, is more than just about tradition, it's about control. Every appearance, every word, every gesture is meticulously planned to perfection. And when Camilla gave that controversial interview, without consulting the palace first, it sent shockwaves through the royal corridors. It was seen not just as a harmless slip, but as an outright challenge to Charles's authority. What Camilla said in that interview was even more explosive. She spoke confidently, perhaps too confidently, about her role as queen consort, dropping hints about her future plans in ways that had never been publicly discussed before. Her words were bold, defiant, and left insiders with a chilling realization: this was no longer about just public appearances. This was about power. This was about control. And Camilla had no intention of being anyone's quiet consort. She was ready to stake her claim as an active player in the royal narrative. King Charles, who had spent his entire life preparing for the throne, was enraged. To him, this wasn't just a breach of protocol. This wasn't just about a stray comment in a magazine interview. This was about the very core of the monarchy. Camilla's boldness felt like an assault on everything he had worked for, everything he had fought to build. Charles, a man of deep tradition, saw her defiance as a direct threat to the stability of the royal institution. A royal confrontation like no other. The confrontation that followed was nothing short of an emotional explosion. Charles, rarely seen in such a state, confronted Camilla with a fury that left no room for doubt. His voice was sharp, his words biting. How could she have done this? Why hadn't she consulted him, or the palace, before making such an audacious statement? Why, after all their years together, was she suddenly going against everything they had worked so hard to build? But Camilla, known for her grace under pressure, didn't flinch. Instead, she stood her ground, her voice steady and her posture unyielding. Being queen consort didn't mean she had to remain silent, she argued. She had a voice. She had a role beyond merely being a figurehead beside him. And now, it was time for her to step into that role fully. Charles, however, was beyond reason. This wasn't just about an interview. This was about loyalty. This was about trust. This was about the future of the monarchy itself. In a shocking escalation, Charles demanded that Camilla return her engagement ring, the one that had once belonged to his beloved grandmother, the Queen Mother. A symbol of their long struggle to be together despite scandal and public judgment. But to Charles, it represented more than that. It represented everything he had worked to preserve. For a long moment, Camilla didn't speak. She simply stared at him, her face unreadable. The silence in the room was suffocating. And then, with the quiet dignity that had always been her trademark, she removed the ring from her finger. No words were spoken. She didn't argue. She didn't try to justify her actions. She simply placed the ring on the table, turned, and walked out. What happened next was nothing short of chaos. The woman who had stood by Charles through scandal and heartbreak was now leaving. Staff rushed to pack her things, gathering only the essentials. No time for reflection. No time for questions. The weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. Rather than wait until the morning, Camilla made the decision to leave Windsor Castle that very night. There would be no grand speeches. No dramatic goodbyes. Just a quiet, swift departure. Security footage later captured her leaving in the dead of night, accompanied only by her most trusted lady-in-waiting and a single security officer. And just like that, she was gone. By morning, the palace was in crisis mode. Senior advisors were urgently called in for emergency meetings. The staff was thrown into a state of disarray, their world turned upside down. This wasn't just another royal scandal. This was a full-blown crisis that could send shockwaves through the monarchy, one that threatened to tear apart everything Charles had worked to protect. The echoes of a title change. The change in Camilla's title had already sparked outrage among the royal family and the public. When Camilla married Charles in 2005, the official statement was that she would be known as Princess Consort when Charles ascended the throne, a decision that was made with the aim of respecting the legacy of Princess Diana. But as the coronation drew nearer, the palace quietly changed her title to Queen Camilla, a move that enraged many, particularly those still loyal to Diana's memory. For Charles's sons, the title change created new tensions. While William accepted it, seeing it as part of his royal duty, Harry felt it was proof that Camilla had always intended to take the throne, regardless of public opinion. For Harry, it wasn't just a name change, it was a sign that Camilla had solidified her grip on the monarchy, and that there was nothing anyone could do to stop it. And then, in an unprecedented move, reports emerged that Camilla had orchestrated a palace reshuffle, dismissing several long-serving aides in favor of those loyal to her. One of the most notable departures was Angela Kelly, Queen Elizabeth II's former dresser and confidant. Kelly had been fiercely protective of the late Queen's legacy, and her exit marked a clear sign that Camilla was in charge now. A new challenge on the horizon. But just when it seemed that the monarchy couldn't possibly take any more blows, a new, unimaginable challenge emerged. In early 2024, the palace announced that Charles had been diagnosed with cancer. The news sent shockwaves through the nation, shifting the focus from royal scandals to concerns about the future of the monarchy itself. With Charles undergoing treatment, Camilla found herself thrust into an even more prominent role, taking on more royal duties. Some saw this as her opportunity to prove herself as a capable queen consort. Others, however, worried that this might signal the beginning of even more instability for the monarchy, especially if Charles's health continued to decline. Camilla's influence could grow even more powerful, particularly if the king's health forced a shift in the royal power dynamic sooner than expected. Amidst all this, whispers about the true state of Camilla and Charles's marriage have only grown louder. Was their relationship truly as solid as it seemed? Or had the cracks in their bond, already widened by scandal and the pressures of public life, finally begun to show? The future of the monarchy seems ever more uncertain as Camilla's reign as queen comes into sharper focus. Will she continue to assert her influence, or will these latest crises mark the beginning of her fall from grace? One thing is certain, the royal family's foundations are shaking, and only time will tell who will emerge victorious when the dust settles.